Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, your host for the most, Griever, as always, bringing you guys the latest chapter review for Ayakashi Triangle, Chapter 87, and finally, a little bit more plot going on. We're actually getting some plot lines. I like it. I like to see it. We're getting a little bit more in-depth into exactly what's going on with Suzu as the Ayakashi medium, what potentially is going to... I'm hoping this goes on for a few chapters. Generally, I've been burned in the past, as you guys know, ever since starting reviewing this series, all the way back in Chapter 1. Every single time it seems like we've got like a 10, 12 chapter mini arc going on with something, it ends up being only 3 chapters long, 4 chapters at most. I'm hoping this one goes on a little bit longer. At this point, I'm not hoping for a dozen, but let's half a dozen chapters of this storyline, maybe this little plot line, because I kind of like it. Basically, Suzu and Matsuri are going to that Ayakashi village that we saw in the previous arc, and stuff like that. Of course, Matsuri's not able to, you got to be blindfolded and all that stuff, being an exorcist ninja and the like. They actually end up discussing the idea of helping Ni no Kuru, and Matsuri brings up the fact, and once again, this is, of course, causing issues, because the sister trope and all that crap, but actually decides, hey, wait a minute now, maybe I can help Ni no Kuru. What if, like, I wouldn't actually go out with him for real, but if it would help Ni no Kuru get over this girl phobia thing he seems to have going on with him, if just pretending to go out for a few months would help him, I mean, what's really the harm? We're just faking it sort of idea. Now, honestly, of course, he should have recognized that that was not going to be, for Suzu, because Suzu is... She's thinking with, they always say guys think with their other head. She's thinking with the other head, let's be real. She's constantly thinking that way. She is a hormonal teenager. And basically right now she completely says, no, there's no way I could, agree to that and that kind of stuff. And she ends up running away. And Shirogane points out that they have to cross 7 torii gates, not 6, but only 7 of them in the correct order to get to the Ayakashi village. Unfortunately, she's sort of in a spirit trance, sort of in the transition world between the two right now, and ends up by running away, and of course with Matsuri blindfolded, has no idea like where she ran off to. Shirogane yells after her, and then she ends up just thinking all about, we could have been happy from the start if only that gender swap didn't happen, we'd already be going out, and she's thinking with the other head, like all teenagers do, men and women, and because of this cause, she ends up bringing herself in a space between regular time and regular space, beginning of the series pretty much, with when Matsuri was first a boy and he got the gender swap jutsu passed on him. So I kind of like this. I kind of like this idea that she's reliving the past based on her guilt, and actually as she refers to her young heart comes out and basically claims and says, listen, I prefer not to interfere as much as possible because you are the main personality, you're the main, the main character, you're the main inhabitant of this body. However, right now, we're in a bit of a pickle here because, as she points out, and after Suzu tries to get with Matsuri, is that your guilt is right now caught up in this time and place, this time and location in the past. That feeling that you had that urged you brought us here. And because of the gender swap awakening, that is part of your guilt, that happened to Matsuri, and it's the one thing standing in your way of being happy with him, and the one thing that you dream about, and the one thing you want in life. So, now this is where she brings up, now, I've never thought of this version as evil, the young heart as referred to. I've never thought this version as evil. However, this seems to be odd. Maybe it's a bit of a test, because at the end of the chapter, she says, let's take it back, the future that you were supposed to have. So she's going to prevent, she says, my guilt, but we can stop it. We can stop the jutsu that Shirogane cast on Matsuri back then, and then you can have the future the way you should. Now, in retrospect, it's not necessarily a bad idea, because, and we've seen that story plot line, a great example would be in the Zelda Ocarina of Time, right? At the end of the game, spoiler alert for a game from the 90s, but in the end of that game, after you go through all this shit and the world went to hell and the world went to shit and you defeat Ganondorf and you defeat Phantom Beast Ganon and all that stuff and you get the Triforce, blah, 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 adult Zelda sends adult Link back through time and says, you need to go live your life the way you should have. Like, this is from my fault. It had nothing to do with you. Like, everything happened because of me and stuff. You weren't supposed to lose 7 years of your life. This wasn't supposed to happen, so I'm going to send you back. Unfortunately, he gets sent back with the memories, either fortunate or unfortunately, depending on the way you want to look at it, but ends up sending Link back at the end of the game so he can live out those 7 years before Ganon ever, destroyed, before he broke into the Sacred Realm, before all that shit happened. Of course, that created a lot of timeline problems and stuff, but necessarily that didn't make Zelda evil, Normally, and the reason I say all this is because normally we see, the whole, hey, let's change the past. Let's give you the happiness you deserve, blah, blah, blah. It's always done in a nefarious way, it seems. In nowadays mangas and fiction, it's always trying to change the past. It's always looked at as a bad thing, trying to bring back that loved one, do that thing. It's been a trope for a long time. You can't bring the dead back to life. You can't change the past. You can't do this. Trying to fuck with it causes more heartache and more sorrow. But we have examples in fiction where, no, it actually was a mercy thing. It was the right thing to do. And in this particular instance, that's why it's very easy to look at this chapter and say, okay, the little girl's sort of manipulating this idea, maybe trapping Suzu in this space between space and time. Maybe, yeah, she lives out her happiness, but now the timeline gets screwed up because there is no Suzu in the present. So there's no Suzu in the future, there's no Suzu in the present. Maybe the young heart is trying to save her from the apparent death of the Ayakashi medium. The Ayakashi mediums always die as teenagers, and Suzu's already 16, 17, so it's nearly time, right? They don't live very long. Now, granted, whether that's based on fate or just on very, the most unlucky reincarnations in the world, I'm still leaning towards the fact that it's fate. Regardless how they try to live their lives, misfortune follows them. Whatever happens. And it's sort of the thread of fate sort of makes it happen in one way or another. Maybe the young heart is also not just trying to manipulate Suzu, but trying to give her an endless dream where she's happy and also save her life in that weird type of way. So definitely a lot of intrigue going on here, as you guys can no doubt tell. For once, this is the problem with Ayakashi Triangle as a whole, is that we have chapters like the last chapter stuff where I just don't care, blah, blah, blah. We have too many fluff chapters. Then all of a sudden, we get some good characterization. We get a good plotline. We get a good idea that can be expanded upon and always is cut too short. That's why I'm hoping I'm not holding out that this is going to go for 13, 14 chapters of a plotline, but can I at least get half a dozen? 6 to 8 chapters, that's all I'm asking, because this could be incredibly interesting. There's a lot of dynamics that can go on here, because the guilt is what's holding Suzu here. If they manage to stop, even if it's not real, so to speak, it's a different reality. It's living outside of space and time. If Suzu's happy in that way, will that work sort of idea. And the young heart is just trying to get the best of both worlds, knowing that fate is against the Ayakashi medium and that she will meet misfortune if she stays on the path that she's currently on. That kind of idea, that's the basis for how Shadow Maya exists. That's the basis for the Ayakashi medium reincarnation. Garaku has says it. Shadow Maya says it. Everybody's been telling us this. So maybe the young heart is trying to save Suzu from that impossible fate, right? So in this regard, the rest of the chapter was fine. Like, she meets up with the Matsuri at the beginning, thinking that and tries to have her way with him, sort of idea. Because she's like, finally, you're a boy again, that kind of stuff. But clearly, that's not the case, and they have to run away and that kind of deal. But as I said, the big thing to take away from here is the last 2 pages of the chapter, where we get this quite, I would argue, this quite interesting dynamic and plot line that might become something. It could become something quite interesting. At least I'm hoping. I don't know about you guys. I mean, Ayakashi Triangle is definitely not a great manga by any stretch. It's got some solid artwork and okay characters. The plot leaves a shit ton to be desired, and it seems to be all over the place, what direction it's going. It's not exactly following any linear plot overall, it seems. It's very haphazardly put together and seems to sell more on the fan service side than anything else. Very unfortunate, because I feel like it's watered down due to the reason that people read it is just for the fan service. And it's like, hentai exists. You know, like if you're after that stuff, there's other sites. Like I want to read a good storyline. You know what I mean? I want to read something. Yeah, you can have your fan service and stuff. You know, but even arcs of Fairy Tail had good plot. You know, not all the arcs, of course, but even Fairy Tail with all its fan service had some really good arcs. You know, and I could enjoy them. I could sink my teeth into that, and I could say, yes, let's go. So in the same sense with Ayakashi Triangle, you know, like I feel like once again I'll probably be disappointed, but I feel like we have potential here for character building, a little more lore, and just a good overall plot line for the next coming weeks of Ayakashi Triangle. So what do you guys think? Am I full of shit? Are my expectations way too high? What do you guys think? Let me know down in the comment section down below. Like, comment, and subscribe is all. Fourth and most importantly, drink like I am responsibly. As you don't see, there's nothing here, so I'm being good this Sunday. But we'll see you guys back here next time. Don't forget to hit that like button, and we'll see you guys again for Ayakashi Triangle Chapter 88. Hope you enjoyed the review. See you back here next time. Bye-bye.